Hi everyone, this is Sarah from Sassy Reads, and welcome to a new video series that I'm calling Revisiting Fear Street. So, if you don't know anything about me, which you probably don't if you're new here, if you're not new here, maybe you do know this, but I basically became a reader because of the Fear Street series by R.L. Stine. My first foray into R.L. Stine was obviously Goosebumps, which I kind of really got into him second, third, and then fourth grade. Well, when I was in fourth grade, we went on a excursion trip to a library out of town because my mom was doing genealogy research, and we were stuck in the library, and so where else would we sit besides the children's section? And I was like, ooh, R.L. Stine, I wonder if there's any Goosebump books. Well, I actually discovered the Fear Street books, and I came across one book, and it was called Who Killed the Homecoming Queen? So I read pretty much all of it, but I never finished it. But I went home and I begged my mom to take me to the library, to which I went on a forever binge. My first official read that got me into the Fear Street was The Boy Next Door. That was the one that I read and finished, and I loved those books. I have read probably around 150 of them. I never actually cataloged them. That's something I should do. But what I wanted to do was tell you what this series is going to be like, kind of give you a little glimpse, a little taste, because I'm super excited for this. This is more of just an introduction video. I am planning to do reading vlogs though as this series progresses, and I don't really have a timeline or anything. It's just whenever I want to. So last year at the end of 2020, I actually got some Fear Street books for my classroom, and I was like, I want to read these before I put them in, make sure that they're not super old school, full of problematic and racist, sexist, or just issues that would be offensive to my students, because I don't want them to be exposed to old school books that are not the best. Well, my first foray back was Killer's Kiss, which is number 42 in the original Fear Street series. Killer's Kiss was one of my favorite books growing up, and it's about a girl named Delia, and she has an ongoing rivalry with this girl named Karina. They hate each other. They're vying after the same guy. There is a competition and a scholarship on the line, a man on the line, money and a way out of Shady Side on the line, and all of a sudden Delia's life is getting torn apart. She's finding rats in everywhere. Was she the rat girl, or maybe I'm thinking of another one? She wasn't the rat girl. She has a painting smeared. She has all kind of crazy stuff happen to her, and it has one of the best twists. Point blank period, Killer's Kiss has one of the best twists in the Fear Street series, and rereading it as an adult, I ate it up. I read that book in an hour, and I loved it. It still holds up. I gave it 4 stars. My rating may change though after this continuation into the Fear Street realm, although I feel it's a really high 4 stars, so it's more like a 4.25. But best twist ending. That was such a good book, and you can definitely tell it's one of the later in the series because the twist is more sure of itself. The plot is a little bit darker. It's kind of not afraid to go in that dark direction, whereas the earlier Fear Street books are a little bit more timid. So I read Killer's Kiss. This was the start of my rereading Fear Street. It was fun. Then I got some newer Fear Street books that I've never read before. There is a group of, well, let me tell you about the most recent one. So I read the most recent series. I've read 2 out of the 3 in the most recent Return to Fear Street series. These are published in 2018, the 2 that I read, and then there's one that's published in 2019 that I have yet to read. But they're an interesting addition into the Fear Street world. The first book in this relaunch, called Return to Fear Street, is called You May Now Kill the Bride. And this is an interesting one because we follow a family in the 1920s who are like the Fears. Of course, they're the Fears. They have a curse on them, and I'm not going to spoil that curse. We'll get more into it as we read the series together, but things happen, a sister dies, and now we're shot forward to 2018 where there are two sisters, and it looks like it's going to be the exact same storyline play out. The 1920s storyline, 5 stars. The modern storyline, like 2 stars, so like 2.5 stars for the whole thing, especially because the writing in the modern times feels so different from the old, and I felt like it could have been ghost written. I was like, this doesn't feel like R.L. Stine. Like, it doesn't. I could see the ghostwriter there. I was like, I'm not buying this or vibing with it. So then I read the second book and the Return to Fear Street relaunch because I was like, okay, the first one wasn't too bad. I liked the old school kind of ode and homage to the Fear Street saga. I was here for that. I was a Fear Street saga girl. Some of my favorite books in Fear Street were the old school historicals. So I was like, okay, let's read the next one. So I read The Wrong Girl. Oh boy. Okay. We follow a girl named Poppy and a group of her friends, and we're told throughout at the beginning that something is going wrong, a robbery went wrong, it was supposed to be a prank, and now someone's dead. The Wrong Girl is one of the worst books that I read in 2020. Yes, it was readable, but being readable does not make it good. There was nothing good about The Wrong Girl. It was horrible. Like, I will be shocked if I can find a Fear Street book worse than The Wrong Girl. Can I? I hope not, because I really didn't like that one. Like, kind of like made me be like, I don't know if I want to keep reading these books because it was so bad. So then I was like, okay, let's like put a pause on it for a second. Let's read the relaunches that came out before these more modern ones. So I read the Fear Street relaunches, which were published in 2015 and 2016. And so I read like a bind-up that had 2 of the books in it, but the first, it's the third book in the relaunch. It's called The Lost Girl. And we follow a girl named Lizzie Walker, and she like comes out of nowhere, and everyone's like, who is she? Where'd she come from? And this guy, Michael, is obsessed with her. And he's like, it's very like old school, The New Girl, the very first book in the Fear Street series. We got this girl coming in, the guy's obsessed with her, but the book opens up with Lizzie, or not Lizzie, I don't know. The book opens up with some girl, I can't remember her name, and her father is eaten by a horse because like the Italian mafia in Shadyside's gotta take him out because he's overstepping his territory. He's gotta go. It was good. I love the beginning of this book. The Lost Girl's beginning was so dark. I mean, how often do you read a book where someone gets eaten and torn apart in front of their daughter by a horse? Horses that haven't eaten in days, y'all. It was so good. I was like, ooh, this is horrible. I love it. I was here for it. It was dark, so I enjoyed it. I was going to give it 5 stars until I got to the ending, and then it was a little too supernatural science fiction for me. I love when Fear Street takes supernatural elements. However, I have to believe it. It has to fit the story well. Point blank, period. You can't just throw in this type of storyline, time travel, that makes no sense with some weird portal to fit. Just doesn't need to happen. So I gave The Lost Girl 4 stars because I loved the beginning. I even loved this guy Michael's obsession with Lizzie because it reminded me of old school New Girl, and I was like, okay, I can vibe with this. I did not love that ending, so this is why I'm settling on 4 stars. However, my love for the beginning is so vast for The Lost Girl that it overshadows how much I didn't like the ending. Okay? So the next one in the relaunch is Can You Keep a Secret? This was book 4 in the relaunch, and I think it's the last one in the relaunch. We follow Eddie and Emmy, who are high school sweethearts, and they end up somehow getting involved with like finding this treasure, but it's not treasure. It actually turns out to be like stolen money from like someone else's robbery, and they just happened upon it. And also, like, Emmy may or may not be becoming a werewolf. Like I said, supernatural plot has to make sense. We can't have these two storylines did not work. How are you going to have this big giant robbery plot and then a werewolf plot? Make them separate. The werewolf plot could have been a separate book. The robbery plot could have been another book. And then they could have just followed each other in the series. And it wouldn't have felt like a hodgepodge mess. So, Can You Keep a Secret? 2.25 stars. Just because I kind of like the werewolf stuff, but it didn't work well as a whole. So, you know, that's how I feel about that. Okay, so then I went back to the original Fear Street series because they came out with this Bomb Bindup. Do you guys see this? Look at how beautiful this Fear Street Bindup is. This houses the first 4 books. As you can see, it says the beginning, and then in the little middle at the bottom, it gives you the books. The first 4 books in the series are The New Girl, The Surprise Party, The Overnight, and Missing. And they're all very different. They're connected because, you know, we're in Shadyside. Fear Street is there, or the Fear Street Woods, or Fear Street Island, or Fear Island, whatever they call it. It is all connected, right? We have Shadyside at the center, so therefore the Fear family is like hovering over it. They don't know about the Fear family yet, as far as like if you're a new reader, because these are like books that are set in the 80s and 90s, and they're just there to have fun, okay? So, The New Girl. What are my thoughts on The New Girl? Okay, I read The New Girl back in the day, so this was a reread for me. The New Girl was not one of my favorite books upon my first read as a child. In fact, The New Girl was one of the books that I liked the least because I read it after I read so many bangers in the series that I thought The New Girl lacked. I thought it had more to be desired. I thought the ending was not good, okay? That's how I felt. I could care less. Well, upon reread, I have discovered that The New Girl is a really good beginning to the Fear Street series. I gave The New Girl 3.5 stars. I think it's a banger. Of course, it's not like the best of the Fear Street books, but it's a really good one, especially if we're looking at it building up and starting the foundation of a giant series that spans decades, which this series has. And so we follow Corey Fields, and he is obsessed with this new girl named Anna Corwin, and he's like, oh my gosh, I can't stop thinking about her. I'm failing my gymnastics meets because I can't land my triple toe touch because I'm too busy thinking about Anna. And then he also has this girl that he's friends with named Lisa, who is absolutely in love with Corey, and he can't take a hint because he's so obsessed with Anna. And she's like, Anna's suspicious, and he's like, no, Anna is perfect. And then, of course, we learn that Anna's not perfect. And there are some twists and turns, and someone has died. Maybe it's Anna, or maybe Anna was the one to kill them. Bum, bum, bum. So, yeah, The New Girl. It holds up, right? The first and the original Fear Street series is a good one. I like it. As an adult, I think it's a really good book. As a child who was obsessed with the series, it wasn't a favorite. But if I look at it objectively, as what it sets out to do, It's good, especially in building those scenes where Corey is running around the Fear Street in the dark. And it's like, I've heard these stories about Fear Street. I think it's haunted, blah, blah, blah. I'm terrified, but I have to see Anna. So it's a fun time. And you can definitely tell that R.L. Stine is setting us up for some interesting stuff on Fear Street with all these rumors and spooky stories. So the Surprise Party is book number 2 in the Fear Street series. I read The Surprise Party back in the day. And I gave that one also 2 stars. I think, though, I liked it more than The New Girl. I don't know why I gave it 2 stars if I liked it more than The New Girl, but that's what I did when I started Goodreads, okay? I was just rating stuff. And so for me, The Surprise Party was a surprise, quite generally, because I really, really liked The Surprise Party. I think it's awesome. I love the plot, I love the concept, I love the build-up. We follow a girl named Meg. Yes, Meg. And Meg is in a friend group, and one of her friend's brother has died. And her other best friend who was dating him moved away. And there's all this drama. Everyone's broken because of Evan's death. And so when Meg finds out that, what was her name? The girl who's coming back? Ellen is returning for a visit. They decide to throw a surprise party. But someone is out to stop this party. And they will stop at nothing, even murder. And it's a fun time because the twist in the surprise party are really good. Like, really, really good. They're so good that they're kind of shocking. And it's fun. It's a good one. You should read them. I recommend actually both of the beginning of this series. I think that even though they're old, they kind of hold up in a way. And so the third book in the series is The Overnight. I think I gave The Overnight originally 2 stars. I can't see what I originally gave it. It's not showing me. I'm assuming I either gave it 2 or 3 stars. I had no previous recollection of The Overnight, like, at all. Okay? I started reading that book and I was like, this sounds familiar and I'm pretty sure I read this, but, like, I don't remember it. And then I did as I was reading and I was like, oh, I've read this before. I know this. I like this. So, for The Overnight, we follow a group of Shadyside High students. At the center, we have Della, who is our main protagonist, and they are going to Fear Island. Okay? They're going to Fear Island after the Outdoors Club is canceled. They were supposed to go to Fear Island as a group, but something came up and their teacher can't go. And so now they have to go on their own. They want to embark out on their teenage adventures because that's what teenagers do, even if it means going somewhere that is probably very dangerous and no one will know. And in doing so, Della ends up murdering someone on the island. And now they're coming back for revenge, okay? It's a fun time. The Overnight has some really good tropes to it. And I liked how many people there were. I liked all the stuff. I thought it was so much fun. It was a good time. So The Overnight, I also gave that one 4 stars. If you were to ask me which one I'm preferring the most so far, I will tell you at the end of my thoughts on this one. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, Sarah. Okay. Then the last book in this bindup is Missing, which is the 4th book in the series. And this is the one where my rating doesn't change. Shocker. Okay. I gave Missing the same rating I did when I was a kid. Okay? So, Missing is about Mark and Kara, who are new to Shadyside, and their parents go missing. And they gotta find them. They gotta figure out what happened to mom and dad. Where are they? Why aren't they home? What secrets are they keeping? Okay? So, I'm gonna put it to you like this. Missing is not a good book. It is full of intricate plot lines that come out of the left field. all to equate to a cult trope at the end that has nothing to do with Shady Side at all, which is probably why I kind of like hated the ending of this, because like after knowing so much about Fear Street and reading so many of these books, I was like, no. So yes, Missing is still a 2 stars for me. In fact, Missing is one of my least favorites, if I remember correctly, of the original Fear Street series. And now I can see why, because dang, it's not good. I was listening to, the podcast? It's, A Stroll Down Fear Street. I listened to the first 4 yesterday because I just discovered this series. And I was like, oh, like, I didn't know there was a podcast. Now I can listen to the podcast after I read the books, because that sounds fun. And I'll put it to you like this. I disagree with their podcast quite a bit, because these women have never read the Fear Street books before. So they're looking at it from a fresh lens. As someone who has extensive and over knowledge of this series, probably more than I need to know, I do not agree with their thoughts on Missing. Like, I think they gave it a 4 stars, and I was like, no, that is not a hot take. No. Missing is not it. Like, out of all the Fear Street books that you could give 4 stars to, or even 3 stars to, you're gonna get Missing that? With that cult plot line? No. But I digress, because, you know, some people like what they like. I like cult plot lines, but I did not like that one. So, here is the introduction to my Fear Street books. Okay, I've been acquiring them and recollecting them. It's been a fun time. I still have a lot that are on their way, and I've been hunting down mainly the ones that are really hard to find, the out-of-print ones. But, of course, the ones that are not out of print come here quicker. So, this was the first to my official recollection. I bought the Fear Street Saga recollections. This one is like the original Fear Street Saga that I actually have never read. This one has the Betrayal, the Secret, and the Burning. So that's going to be fun, because I've never read the original Fear Street Saga. I had read most of the Fear Street Saga, because it was called the Fear Street Saga, and then there was Fear Street Saga. Fear Street Saga started with these books, A New Fear, House of Whispers, and Forbidden Secrets. Some of my favorite Fear Street books come from this series. Dance of Death, the one with the Native American coyotes and werewolves. What was that one called? Whispers of the Night or something like that? Those 2 books in that series were so amazing. They blew me away. 5th grade me was quaking. I could not believe that books like that existed. Okay, they were so good. Then, my personal favorite books are in the original Fear Street series, of course, because there's like 51 or 52 books in that series. So you're going to have some favorites. But my true, I think, ride or die series in the Fear Street realm are the Super Chillers. So I've tracked down a lot of the Super Chillers, okay? Like, a lot of them. These are not Super Chillers. These are my Super Chillers that I have collected so far. Broken Hearts. Never read this one, so I'm excited because, like I said, I love the Super Chillers. The first book in the Silent Night Super Chiller series. This one has that girl with the red hair that everyone hates, and she ends up getting trapped in her daddy's store being chased by a killer Santa Claus. It was fun. I read all 3 of these. I like them. Okay? The next one I have is Party Summer. This one I remember being a favorite. I have no clue what it's about. I don't remember, but I remember loving it. Okay? Then I have The New Year's Party, which I actually have very vivid memories of me reading in 4th grade. I should not have been reading this in 4th grade, but I was. And I love this cover because look at it. There's blood on it. It's dark. It's violent. 4th grade me was like, I shouldn't be reading this. Let me read it. And I loved it. Then I have Bad Moonlight, which is like one of my favorite paranormal books in the Fear Street world. This one's so much fun. We have werewolves in this. Obviously, it's called Bad Moonlight. And they're singers. Think like Coyote Ugly, if coyotes were running around. And then we have The Dead Lifeguard, which looks so old school. I know I read this one. I have no recollection of it because I feel like I read a bunch of lifeguard books when I was younger. Okay, then I have 2 books that are the start of Fear Street series I never read. I have the first book, The First Horror. This starts the 99 Fear Street House of Evil series. Never read this, never could find it at my library. This is my first time ever even holding a copy of this book. I'm excited. I think it's gonna be fun. Then we have The Cheerleaders, First Evil. I remember these were like the books, okay? Like Corky and Bobby come up in the Fear Street series numerous times. And I can't remember if I read these or not, and I don't think I did. I think I owned the second one, and I could never find the first one, so I just never read the series. What a tragedy. Okay, I also have the second and third in that one coming. The fourth and the fifth cost a little bit more, so I'm debating if I want to find them on eBay or Amazon. We will figure it out. Okay, so here are the bulk of the original Fear Street books, okay? So obviously I have the first 4 in the original series and this beautiful bind-up. So I should probably show you the new editions. Okay, so I got this new box set. Look at it. Love that. Okay, this one has some banging covers. We've got The Perfect Date. I think I read this one. Did I read this one? Brady Carlin is getting on with his life. The memory of his girlfriend killed in a gruesome sledding accident last year. Did I read this one? I can't remember. We'll find out together later. Okay, I definitely read Secret Admirer, though. This one's probably the rat one. And I've never read Runaway. But I remember back in the day that the girl was holding like a flashlight in front of a car. This one, I'm obsessed with this cover. This cover redesign, amazing. And I think it's kind of similar to Firestarter. So, yes, give me your superpowers, girl. Love that. Okay, so those are the reprints. I have some with like, I'll just go through it in like numerical order. This is the 5th book in the series, The Wrong Number. I remember hating this one, but I started reading it today, and I'm actually not. Then I have The Halloween Party, which I think is like 7 or 8 in the series. Then I have The Best Friend, which was the Fear Street book I hunted down my whole life and could never find. And now I have a copy. Okay, then I have The New Boy, which was one of my favorites in the series. This one, I love this book, okay? It was so much fun. Then I have Bad Dreams, which I remember thinking was so much fun. And I remember reading this cover and thinking it was so cheesy, but so good at the same time. I love the art. Then I have Double Date, which I never read, but I was like, ooh, that one sounds so juicy because it's about this guy who wants to date 2 twins. And I was like, that's not going to go well. He's on Fear Street. And then I read One Evil Summer, which, not read. I have One Evil Summer. This one I read, obviously. It's amazing. This one is one of the best in the series. I remember when I read it, I was like, yes, this is one of the best ones. And at that point, I probably read about 80 to 90 of the Fear Street books conclusively, and I loved this one. I thought it was, I was blown out the water. Then I have The Mind Reader, which I'm pretty sure I read. I think I read. I feel like I read. And then I have The Boy Next Door, which was the first book that I had that introduced me to this series. We love it. Amazing. I still remember so many scenes from it. Can't wait to reread it. And then I have Into the Dark, which was one of my favorites, one of my earliest reads in the series. And I remember like the library had a hardcover of this, and I never could hunt down a physical copy because I wanted to own one because I love this book so much. But this was one of my favorites. I love the twist in that one. So that is my Fear Street collection. Join me on this journey as we reread the Fear Street series together and revisit them. Out of order, however I feel like, it's going to be a good fun time.